back to Lunchbox TV. I'm Quirky Al Cosplay. Welcome to Storm Crow Manor, Canada's nerdiest bar. Let's go and check inside, shall we?
Douglas Gregoire. I'm the general manager of the Storm Crow Manor.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So what is it that inspired the creation of Storm Crow and specifically the Storm Crow Manor?
Here in Toronto, I think that we were just really looking to expand kind of what we were doing. So we had started with 2 locations in Vancouver that we opened in 2012 and 2016. They were opened, our owner, Jason Kapalka, he was one of the co-founders of PopCap Games. And so he always wanted to basically have a sports bar for nerds. And that was kind of what the first iteration of the Storm Crow Tavern on Commercial Drive in Vancouver was like. And then we opened the Storm Crow Ale House on Broadway in Vancouver, which was a bigger sort of like beer hall. It's got 21 beer taps. And so when we moved out here to Toronto, we're starting here with the idea that we're going to basically try to expand. Ideally 7 to 10 locations in the next 10 years is kind of the goal. So we started here. I know that when they were here trying to find the space, they looked at 20 different spots. And when they found this spot, it was just kind of like we saw it and we were like, we have to go here.
It's perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. Like the building is great. So yeah.
So coming from Vancouver, BC, what was it that made Toronto specifically such a great location for the Storm Crow Manor?
Specifically, I think just the market. I think that I've had people say that they're like, oh, I don't think anything like that exists in Toronto, and I don't think anything like us exists outside of like Universal Studios. Really, if you're going to go somewhere for dinner and have like such an immersive experience. So for us, it just I think the demographic really worked. I think wanting to try and expand into a place where we could start here and then have the option to expand further east if we wanted to get into perhaps markets in the United States if it was something we were looking to do. But there just seems like there's such a good nerd and fandom and comic book and all kinds of different things here in Toronto that really work with us. And for us to find a place that's right in the village, it really does speak to who we are as a brand as well too. So I think it was really important.
So because there's so much here, how much time did it take for you guys to build all of this?
When we took the manor over, no business had been in it since 2015. So it was empty for about 3 years, with the aside from like the occasional during the Pride Festival, they would use it as a special event kind of space. But when we took it over, we pretty much gutted the entire thing and had to rebuild everything from scratch. So we had to put in brand new electrical on every floor. We had to redo the entire HVAC system. We put in a brand new kitchen. We put in brand new bars. We had to rebuild the entire roof because it was infested with raccoons, as things are here in Toronto, as I've been told. And so it was a bit of a long process. We took about just over a year for us to basically from taking the space to finally getting it open to the public. So yeah.
And obviously, because you guys are here in a historic building, there must have been some obstacles to go around.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely, as a designated heritage building, there are some things that we have issues with. We can't really do very much. So our accessibility it's pretty limited. We can't do much to basically turn the space into an accessible for all people with mobility issues, just due to restrictions from the Heritage Society. It's really important to us. So it's unfortunate that we can't. It's important to us that we are a place for everybody. When we are on the hunt right now to try and find a second location in Toronto, and we are looking at it with an eye to having it be all one level, accessible for all people. So
that's awesome. Yeah. I love that, and especially with the neighborhood that we're located at.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So what is it that makes Storm Crow Manor here so unique in comparison to other things? I mean, it's not exactly hard.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it takes like it's like, you know, people come in, like when people come in off the street and you know, they're either drawn in by the weird like retro futuristic music or soundtrack that we're playing that you can hear from outside, and they see the sign that says the Nerdiest Bar in Canada, and they're like, well, what makes you the Nerdiest Bar in Canada? I'm like, well, you can check out the beholder on the wall that we have over here, or these other things. And so every room is pretty uniquely designed. I think it's from the interior to the menu, you know, all of the different types of things that we have. Like, there's a definite nerd flair going on, and you know, we're not trying to be nerd elitists, even though there's so much going on. You know, we want to be a place for the nerd curious as well too. So, you know, but I feel like everybody inside of themselves has something that they like about some sort of fantasy or sci-fi or horror or some sort of genre in the nerd kind of realm that really speaks to them. You know, like whether they are overtly or not. Like, you'll come in here and see something and be like, oh, that thing, I totally remember that thing. I really like that thing. So
it just stands out.
yeah.
And the house itself also has its own characteristics to it as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like it being the old building. It's you know, it's got its quirks. You know, we've done the best that we can with it for sure. You know, having been built in 1877, it's been here for a long time. It was the old manor that basically stood on the large piece of property that now is Dundonald. So yeah.
You guys having other kind of inhabitants here at the manor, so I've heard.
We may or may not have a couple ghosts, much like the Keg Mansion as well too, that are very pretty much well spoken about. But you know, there's definitely been a couple of odd things that have happened. You know, I've definitely seen at least one book fly off a shelf. So.
Oh, lovely! We love that. Can't go wrong, especially with your crepes downstairs as well.
Yes, yeah.
Obviously, there's so much to look at here, and you have so many rooms. There's themes for each rooms. Could you elaborate on that?
We have 8 different rooms. So 8 rooms, each have their own theme. We're in the small cocktail hell room right now, but we've got a heaven room as well too, and then we've got like our cyberpunk lounge, which is our post-apocalyptic future room. We've got the Black Lodge from Twin Peaks with the Overlook Hotel Bar from The Shining. We have a Victorian hunting lodge as well too, with a bunch of different creature heads and weapons and stuff all over. We've got our apothecary, which is like our witches and witchcraft and potions and poisons and things preserved room. And then we've got our eclectic lounge, which is like our ode to our Vancouver locations, and our Mary Shelley bar, which is our mad scientist kind of bar. And then we will be getting a 144 person patio in the spring as well too.
And along with such unique rooms here, you guys also have an amazing array of food and drinks available as well. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, and if there's a best-selling one?
It's hard to say the best-selling or most popular. We pretty much run the gamut. I mean, everything has its own kind of nerd flair. The legendary chickpea fries, they have really stood the test of time. They're the only thing off the original menu from the tavern that still exists to this day. So they're great. They're vegan, they're gluten-free, and they come built in a stack of like a stacked tower. We've got our Dracaris dragon egg as well too. It's basically a sausage-wrapped Scotch egg that comes with a Dijon aioli. It's quite nice. We've got just all kinds of things. We have Old Nan's bread pudding as well too, which is like one of our in-house made desserts. So yeah, like all kinds of things. And then our drinks as well too. Like we've got a Romulan ale. We've got a Klingon blood wine. We have a corpse reanimator.
I heard about that one.
We do the Revenge of the Kraken, which is like a bubbling kind of rum cocktail. And we do our share bowls as well too. So we have our Dark Side bowl, which is basically a rum punch bowl that comes out in Darth Vader's helmet.
You have failed me for the last time. Perhaps I can find new ways to move. You underestimate the power of the dark side. If you will not fight, then you will meet your destiny.
With too much fanfare and to do, and we have a Pangalactic Gargle Blaster, which is a share cocktail of the greatest drink in the galaxy. So yeah, lots of things stuff. Yeah,
Friends, actually. It
nice.
was really good.
Awesome.
And along with this amazing food and drink and the culture here, you guys are also now doing activities. So I've heard. Could you tell me more?
Yeah, we've got all kinds of things going on. So we have a nerd trivia on the first and third Tuesday of the month, hosted by Kaya and Steph from the Cardboard Sword Collective. We do inclusive gaming nights on the second and fourth, so the second Monday and the fourth Wednesday of every month. So on the second Monday we do our Quest and Queers, which is our LGBTQ2 plus inclusive gaming night for anybody looking from that community to come and meet other people that are like-minded, want to play games, or for anybody that just is okay with being in a safe space and wanting to come play some games as well too. We do our Fierce Tactics on the fourth Wednesday, and that's our femme and female identifying gaming night. Again, same parameters, you know, those who identify and want to meet like-minded people, or those who want to just come out and play some games in a safe space and a respectful environment, pretty much. We also have our DM and Dine program, so you can rent a Dungeon Master for 4 hours. We give you an appetizer and a main. You get to play a one-shot campaign with a group of up to 8 people. It's $50 a person, and we do that usually in our off kind of peak hours, but we have an amazing roster of DMs who are all very skilled at what they do. And then we're doing our 3-course dinner of the 7 Kingdoms coming up on Sunday starting in the middle of April, which will coincide with the release of Game of Thrones. And so we do a 3-course dinner, $60 a person. Tickets will be available on our website, I think on Monday. And so you come down, have some dinner, and watch some Game of Thrones. Although every week we will be featuring one exclusive feature that'll be representing one of the houses as well. Yeah.
Love that. Why is it that you love the Storm Crow Manor?
I mean, what's not to love? I think it's pretty much my dream job. I'm a huge nerd myself of all kinds of different fandoms, from video games to D&D to sci-fi and horror and all that kind of stuff, and it's just an awesome place. I love it because of who we are. I think, especially, you know, we're a really inclusive space. You know, it's really important to us that we're a place for all people. You know, not just the nerd elites who know everything or want to come in and pick apart how we put together the room, but we want to be a place for the nerd curious. We want to be a place where everyone is welcome and everyone's invited, and whatever kind of weird, freak, or boring life you're living, you can come here and feel like you're at home. You know, it's really important to us.
Well, thanks so much for joining us and allowing us to have this conversation.
Yeah, thanks, my pleasure. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks so much for joining us here at the Storm Crow Manor. Make sure that you check our socials. I'm Quirky Owl Cosplay, aka real name Rebecca, and we'll see you on the next episode.